You're listening to KFWB News Talk 980. My name is Les Brown. I'm Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. And I want to thank you so much for joining us today. We come your way Monday through Friday from 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock. And this is the most positive show on radio now. It's not true because I said it, but I said it because it's true. It's different. It's a different kind of energy. And so when you listen, we invite you to engage in some positive conversations and want to hear your story about various things that we talk about. See, we don't talk about the problems of the world. We don't talk about politics that polarize people. We talk about human interest stories and stories that can hopefully will begin to inspire you to make some different choices, to love your life, to love your whole way of how you show up in life and begin to expand the possibilities of what you can do with your life and choices that you make in every dimension, be it business, financial, relationships, or in raising children. And that brings us to where we are right now. Today, we want to talk about teen pressure. There was an article in the LA Times on a recent study that looked at more than 1,200 middle school students, and they asked them to identify their 3 best friends. Here's what they found, and many parents, you will not be surprised by this. They found that students whose friends were prone to misbehave or didn't do well in school, as they looked at that, they found that those kids who hung around kids who misbehaved and didn't do well in school, those kids didn't do well, and they misbehaved at school. And the kids who hung out with kids who were socially active and had positive ways in which they operated and had good grades and they completed their homework, well, those kids rubbed off on them. They did well, all right? So you know the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. So students who hung around with kids who had poor grades, they ended up having poor grades. Here's what the question is. How did you raise your children? And when you look back, what advice would you give or what would you do differently in your raising your kids? And when I looked at this and I was thinking about this, because of the fact that it's very true, when it comes to teenagers, the influence their friends have over them is very powerful. It's clearly very powerful. In most cases, it's undesirable, and the behavior is almost contagious, particularly if it's negative. Now, here's what researchers say, that we must help our children develop a strong sense of identity and feel secure in their identity. And that perhaps is the best defense against negative peer pressure. Now, it's not easy to tell teens what they should believe or how they should behave, the researchers say, because they might develop a rebellious attitude toward that parenting style. What did you do? And what worked for you? And what did not work? And that if you had it to do over again, you would take a different approach. And when I think about this issue here, first of all, you know, all kids are different. I mean, there are no kids and there are no parenting style that one style fits all. And some kids, you can tell early on what they have a leaning toward, what they might have a predisposition toward being and doing with their lives. And one of the things I look at particularly one of my children, is that I would have spent more time as a parent. I would have spent more time developing my children's character than developing their talent. Because I came out of the old school where an idle mind is a devil's workshop. You got to keep kids busy, keep them involved in things. And so I have them involved in acting, have them involved in sports, have them involved in speaking, in a variety of things. And so what I realized, particularly one in particular, that if I had it to do over again, I'd just focus more on developing his character, giving him a strong sense of self. And I assume because he had my natural talent to be able to communicate and to speak, I assume that he was watching me and what I do and how I operated. I assume he was getting it. No. I made a mistake. I didn't know. I did not know. And I thought I knew. I didn't know that I didn't know, and I thought I knew. And so when I think about this, where we're going with this, and I want to get some feedback from you as parents when you were raising teens, what worked for you? When you look at the most effective things that you did that caused your kid to have a strong sense of identity, to be able to resist negative peer pressure, to be able to think on their own, because kids, when they're growing up, they want to fit in. That feels good. And they have a predisposition to be influenced by negative peer pressure. And we all have it. And fortunately, in my particular case, my mother, she was a single mother raising 7 kids by herself. And I disagree with the old saying that a lot of people say today, a woman can raise a boy to be a man. That's crazy. My mother raised me to be a man. And what worked, what I saw in her style was that I just didn't want to disappoint her. I just didn't want to cause the expression of the sadness that she would have by getting involved in things that many of my friends felt very comfortable in doing, because I knew what mama's expectations were for me. So having high expectations, that's very important for our kids. And also teaching them some principles and some values that can keep them straight. There are several things that I taught my kids, and I thought my youngest one got it, and that was, don't follow everybody else. If you see everybody going to the right, you go to the left. You want to be your own person. Don't follow the crowd. The other thing that's very important, make it okay that people might not like you. You know, a lot of times in life, one of the things my daughter, she's a results coach, and she said, learn to live beyond the good opinions of others. And if there's anything that I would want to do, particularly with raising teenagers and my kids, is just drive that point home more and more, that it's okay if people don't like you. It's okay if they don't want to be around you. That you got to learn to enjoy yourself, to like yourself, to enjoy your own company, and be okay in your own company. Be okay in your own skin. That's very important. I want to hear from you. What are the things that you would do? And as a parent, and what advice would you give to those that are listening who are still in the process of raising some teenagers? And you know that's got to be character building now more so than ever before, because when I was coming up, we had limited influence, but today kids have everything. When I was coming up, the way you separated a kid from an adult was the information that they were exposed to. Today, kids are exposed to everything. I was talking to a friend this past weekend. I was doing a training here in L.A. with a group of people who came in from around the country for me to teach them how to become strategic experiential storytellers. And one of the people that she was a guest there, and she said, I work with adolescents and I work with kids at preschool as well. And she said, they come in with a great deal of wisdom. They come in teaching me some things. I said, come on. She said, Les, 5 and 6 years old. These are different kind of kids now. They come in, old people today at 5 and 6. They know more now than you can ever begin to imagine. The number to call is 888-539-2980. What is your advice on raising teenagers in today's world? How do you raise positive kids in a negative world? What would you say? What are the things that you are doing that you see that's working? And also, as you look at what you've already done, and maybe your kids are grown, what would you do differently, if anything? But what you know that will work right now, I want you to call. I want to hear from you some of this advice, some of the things that you see. It's the breakthroughs that might come through this for a lot of parents who are dealing and struggling with parenting is more important now than ever before. And so some will get some breakthroughs from your advice, from your story today. The number to call is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. As a parent raising teens, what advice would you give that you know, if you do this, this works? I did this, it worked. These are the values, these are the things that I taught, and it most certainly, they were very effective, and my kids are doing great because of that. I want to hear from you. Call me now, 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. I'm excited. I'm fired up. What a beautiful day it is. The number to call is 888-539-2980. My name is Les Brown. This is Mamie Brown's Baby Boy, and you're listening to KFWB News Talk 980.